This is the continual evolution of the East Coast beat. So, fiction. There was a story about this Confederate cook, and one night he was, boiling a pot of potatoes and carrots and whatever the army had been able to find. And this old, half blind monk had come and sat beside him because they were in a cloister. They were taking the headquarters was set up in the cloister, and the monk's name is Malakai. And Malachi talks to Basil, and Basil's kind of like a sweet young kid. He heard there was war. He heard that his people's lives were threatened. That little babies would cry at night, and that horrible things would happen. So he went to go fight a war, to fight an enemy. And he ends up a cook in the headquarters company. And this monk named Malachi, who is how they're finding most of their food, um, is talking to him. And one of the things that he brings up to Basil is, how much life does it take for an army to wage war, even if they're not killing other men? They're still plowing up the land. They're still, like nowadays, um, polluting it with oil. They're still mining the land for the metals. They're still doing all these things just to build up to wage war. So how much of tomorrow are you going to take for today's war? If in the end, what is the end of the process? We all die and become flowers once again. We were laid to rest in the ground, and something grows from us. So the story of Malachi and Basil was that of an older man who was of faith that had been brought to madness by the war. And then the demon Malachi possessed the monk by comforting him. And then the demon Malachi engages with Basil. And at that point, we see that certain things are invisible to those of faith, whether that be faith in a religion or faith in a country or a politic system or a currency, faith in a culture, whatever sort of a belief system or ideology you have. If you have faith in something, it will exist. That's why they call it faith. Now, the hardest part about having faith in a system is when you disagree with it. Basil had no problems with fighting in a war, so half of the commandments were not part of his mind frame. He was neighbor has a 150 moped that he's been working on. He's all, it'll go on the freeway. I said, yeah, that's when it gets bad for Oliver. You know what I'm saying? If I dump something at 35 miles an hour, I could just roll out of it and, brush my denim off. But if I dump myself and, some bag of oranges and, some dirty laundry on the freeway, man, it's a done story. So, like I said, how much. Here comes Mermaid. Come on, Mermaid. So, how much, if you're afraid of missing out on life, maybe you should think that you're just um, not thinking wide enough. You know, does every man have to have a kingdom? Does every man have to fight a dragon or a wizard or an enemy army? Or, does every man have to sail around the world, with nothing but barrels of salted pork and rum and, um, all along the way, searching for this mysterious breadfruit that people keep talking about? So that was the concept of Basil, is that we we have to come to understand um, burning a single grain of rice at times. How many calories did it take for me to get this rice? What am I going to do with the calories? Am I going to sleep? Am I going to go drinking? Am I going to go dancing? Am I going to go, do gymnastics at the beach? Am I going to go to a concert? Am I going to write a play? Am I going to play my tuba, my trombone? Am I going to bounce a ball? Um, am I going to kick it into a bucket? You know what I'm saying? So, how much of tomorrow are you willing to take for today? And then the question being, if you've already had too much, that was Malachi. Malachi had fallen into possession, or the monk had fallen into the possession of the demon Malachi, because Malachi could comfort him from the new reality of a war. It's easy, to have faith if things are well, but when, people are hurt and it's not going to get any better, if your faith breaks you, your faith will bring you back. But if you broke without, if you break from your way of thinking, your instinct, your natural habit, or, your faith, and then you come back with what? Splinters of an ideology that no longer pulls at your heart or brings breath to your cold and stiff body in the morning. Mermaid? Yeah. Alright. The East Coast beat.